This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, let's have some fun. It's time for Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo right here on VSiN, taking you through the next 3 hours and beyond into your Monday morning, starting your week off on the right foot here. We've got second half action in Milwaukee, some major news to get to in that Pacers-Bucks Game 4 that we're going to get to here momentarily. We've also got a Kings-Oilers Game 4 on the ice where LA has just taken a 3-1 lead. We're going to get to all of the live action here in just a few seconds. How about the terrific guest list that our sensational producer, Adam Bernard, has lined up for this one? We're breaking down this weekend's NFL draft in just about a half hour with our buddy Joe DeLeone from A to Z Sports. Normally, we have Joe on Tuesday nights, but we're not wasting any time. We're getting right into the draft talk with Joe. We're going to be looking at some rookie props for this newest draft class, as well as maybe some odds for the 2026, as silly as it sounds, number 1 overall pick. We're going to dive into some baseball, hour 2. Our buddy Colby Conway from Fantasy Alarm going to join us. And then VSiN's own NHL expert, analyst, whatever you want to call him, Jonathan Davis at West Coast Hockey on Twitter, is going to join us hour 3 with some great nuggets and winners, as he always brings to the table. So the Kings are up 3-1 thanks to Kevin Fiala's goal to expand their lead over Edmonton in Edmonton, and LA, the best home team in hockey this year. They're on the road for this one, but they have a chance to return home back to the Staples Center with a commanding 3-1 lead and potentially 2 of their final 3 games, if needed, on home ice. Now let's get to the breaking news, the biggest news going on in the other live game. The Indiana Pacers and Milwaukee Bucks second half has just started, 11:20 to go in quarter number 3. So we're less than a minute into second half action, and the big story there in Milwaukee, Dame Lillard out for the rest of the game, potentially the rest of the postseason. The fear is a ruptured left Achilles. Now, that's not official, I don't believe, just yet. That is the worry. It was a non-contact injury to his left leg, and it seems like the major concern is that it was his left Achilles. So Lillard out for the rest of the game. Again, the thought is, certainly if that is the diagnosis, if that's correct, that he'll be out for the remainder of, forget this series, but the postseason. Now, it's an awful injury. Not to, make light of it or not appreciate the severity of it. Let's look at how that impacts the game, though. And the truth is, Game 3, Milwaukee got the win on their home court. Dame Lillard was essentially a non-factor in that game. He was just 2 of 12 from the floor, just 1 of 8 from beyond the arc. Dame has not looked right this postseason, and this guy's been through a ton, right? I mean, he's only played his version of the postseason is 2 games and 6 minutes right here in Game 4, right? Missed Game 1. Obviously, he's been battling that deep vein thrombosis, the same thing that sidelined Victor Wembanyama for the remainder of this season, the same thing that ended the career of Chris Bosh. So this is serious stuff, right? I mean, the guy has had to overcome a lot with that diagnosis in and of itself, and thank God they caught it early and he was able to return at, the point of Game 2 this postseason. But now you add in this potential Achilles injury, and your heart's got to go out to the guy. You've got to absolutely feel for the guy. That said, when you're looking at it from a how does that impact this game perspective, well, the Bucks had problems. Dame wasn't helping them, right? And even Game 3, where the Bucks put on a performance and they won 117-101, right? It was the best defensive game they've played this series. Dame, I just went through his numbers. He contributed practically nothing offensively. Giannis had 37. How about Gary Trent Jr. hitting 9 threes, reining in 37 points alongside Giannis? They had a couple double-digit guys off the bench. This starting 5 has been really disappointing for the Bucks. I mean, Brook Lopez had 0 points in that winning Game 3, right? Kuzma had 9. It was only 4 guys in double figures. It was Giannis and Trent going for 74 out of their 117. It was like watching a Warriors game where Steph and Jimmy pretty much, say, screw it, we're going to do it all ourselves. That's what the last Bucks game was, except it was Giannis and Gary Trent, not Giannis and Dame. So Dame, only 6 minutes of work in this one, had 0 points. You look at the rest of the starters, Gary Trent just hit a 3, and that gives him 6. He had a beyond slow first half. Kuzma and Lopez combined for 9. Giannis has 12 and 10. He's already got a double-double. It's Kevin Porter Jr. off the bench with 15, 5, and 5, who's really, keeping Milwaukee in this game as Porter Jr. takes a spill right now, down 12, 71-59. The truth is, Milwaukee got a break. Giannis went, otherworldly, but he does that oftentimes, right? The break in game 3 was Gary Trent, just going scorched earth, 9 of 12 from beyond the arc. He ain't doing that so far in this one. And he's got 1-3 early in the second half, and maybe he gets in a rhythm, and maybe he finishes with 4 or 5 threes, but that ain't 9, right? And that ain't going to propel Milwaukee alongside Giannis to a win. So, Giannis hits a couple of free throws here. They're down 71-61. That live number is Indiana laying 8.5. They're up 10. What do we have, 21 minutes to go in the game? Unless Giannis goes MVP mode here, it is really tough to see Indiana not covering. Now it's 7.5, the live number, minus just 5 cents. And Indiana immediately responds with a 3 to go up 13. It is really hard to imagine Indiana not covering 7.5 at minus 105. And that could be up to 9.5, 8.5, depending. I think I'll say this. I'll use this as a blanket statement. I think Indiana wins this game by double digits. How about that? Whether it's 7.5, 8.5, 9.5. I was looking at 8.5. It just turned to 9.5. I think the Indiana Pacers are set up to win this game by double digits. And much like the LA Kings, who are on a power play right now, they're about halfway through that one, 8 minutes to go in the second period. I think both of these teams are in an excellent position after dropping game 3 in each respective series to go home up 3-1. I think that's how both of these series are playing out. And I just saw 7.5 for Indiana. I jump on that. Let's lock that in. Indiana minus 7.5. That's where I'm going best bet right now. Now let's look at the prop market, because they're up 11. And these player props, these live props, are always really fun to look at. You see who's taking over, right? A guy like Giannis, he's got 16 right now, yet his number is 30.5, and it's juiced 25 cents to the over. Obviously, that's the Dame effect, right? Now, I know Dame only went 6 minutes in this one, but you take away their number 2 scoring option, and then here comes Giannis. Their star player, obviously more expected out of him. Miles Turner, he's got 18 right now, a game high. His number is 25 plus, and it's plus $1.85 on DraftKings. My goodness. 7 more points out of Turner, and you're going nearly 2-1? That almost doesn't seem right. Yep, I don't know if that's a typo or what, but that's insane. 25 plus Miles Turner, plus $1.85. He's got 18 already. Halliburton's got 12. His over-under, 19.5, so 20 plus, minus 20 cents. Siakam, he's got 16.5, even money to the over. How about a guy, let's look at Milwaukee, right? Who could benefit from Dame being out? How about Bobby Portis, who's got 8, being over under 14.5? He got 7 the rest of the way in 19 more minutes of basketball. That puts you over. I like that Portis number. I'm not playing it. I'm probably staying away from props here, but I like, out of all of these player props I just rattled off, Giannis over 30.5 now is even money. He needs 15 for that. I like that, and I like Portis. Those are the 2 guys I would target. But Indiana's up 11 here, and frankly, I just don't see a world in which Milwaukee is able to make this a double-digit game. It just does not seem like the Bucks, especially, there's a momentum factor when you lose a star player like Lillard, and whether he's performing at his peak or not, he is still a leader. He is still, I would say the wide consensus is that he's the second best player on that team. So you lose a guy like Dame's presence out there, and I think that just has a nasty trickle-down effect to the rest of the team from a morale standpoint, right? And a demoralization perspective. So Pacers up 11. I think they're going to win this one by double digits. Locked in Indiana laying 7.5. And frankly, even if you got 8.5, 9.5, the CLV police might come after you. But I think the Pacers are going to win this one by double digits in Milwaukee. Let's look at the earlier NBA action from Sunday. But before we do that, folks, I want to remind you this summer is the time to go all in at Circa Las Vegas. They've got the ultimate getaway package right now, just $400 all in. You'll get a 2-night stay at Circa, a $100 dining credit, a $100 beverage credit, and your very own daybet at Stadium Swim, where the party never stops. That's $400, resort fees and taxes included. This limited time offer, only valid for stays between May 26th and September 4th. So don't miss out. Lock in your all-in summer package now at circalasvegas.com. This is, I've never seen a deal like this, folks. You don't want to miss out on that $400 all-in package. All right, earlier in the NBA, I mean, we had some crazy games start off Sunday's slate. How about my New York Knicks coming out of Detroit? And I don't want to hear Tim Hardaway got fouled, Josh Hart fouled. I don't want to hear it. That comeback, that play down the stretch by the Knicks after Detroit really dominated that third quarter, right? I say comeback. This is a team that was up, 7 at the break. And then Detroit dominated the third quarter. Knicks take the fourth quarter. They're behind, and they just claw their way back. I think they got down as many as 9, if I'm not mistaken. Karl Anthony Towns couldn't miss from deep in the fourth quarter. I mean, he took one shot. He wasn't even near the line. He was feet back from the perimeter. And nothing but net. Slightly to the right of the top of the key. I mean, Towns was otherworldly. Brunson was clutch, and he was banged up, and he was everything Jalen Brunson's been since he started donning the blue and orange. That Knicks game, if you're going to reduce it to the Josh Hart, Tim Hardaway at the end, he should have gotten called for pushing him. It's been a physical series. It was a physical game. At the end of the day, the Knicks showed up with ice in their veins when it mattered, and that fourth quarter was a thing of absolute pure beauty. More on that and the Lakers-Wolves fiasco to come. It's Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, right here on a Sunday night. Pacers-Bucks at a commercial break. Currently 80-67, Indiana up 13. I believe they got it to 15. That was their biggest lead I've seen in this one. Giannis sitting at 18. We mentioned that over 30.5 at even money. Looking good. Bobby Portis still sitting there at 8. His numbers come down from 14.5 to 13.5. Keep an eye out on that. As far as the Pacers, who we locked in laying 7 and a hook, they're now laying 10.5, and it's juiced 15 cents as opposed to the 5 cents it was when we brought that play up. So we'll keep you updated on the Indiana-Milwaukee game. How about LA up 3-1? What do we have here? A penalty kill by the Kings. About 4.5 minutes to go, second period. How about the way that they've outshot Edmonton this game? Game 1, most of the series as a whole. I mean, this game, it's 28-14. They're out shooting the Oilers 2-1. Game 1, I remember something ridiculous. Before Edmonton made that flurry of goals and that comeback late in Game 1, it was something crazy like 16-8 in the third period. The Oilers weren't even generating chances, let alone goals. And then when it rains, it pours. They all seemed to come at once for Edmonton. So that's the live action right now. Mentioned earlier today that Knicks-Pistons game. Look, we got into it. Just to reiterate some of the props that got home, Karl Anthony Towns has been huge these 2 games at Detroit. And that was the knock on him. Game 2, got into foul trouble. 10 points. Pistons win at MSG. Well, we said Towns was going to have to be huge for the Knicks to win in Detroit. And they've pulled out 2 wins by the hair on their chinny chin chin. And Karl Anthony Towns, absolutely massive each game. This time, 27 points, 9 boards. Brunson, 32 points, 11 dimes. And how about Josh Hart, 14 and 10? A nice scoring output for Hart, who you always expect to do the dirty work, play defense, grab boards, dish dimes. Had 5 dimes, too, by the way. But 14, 10, and 5. Great game for Hart. 42 minutes. No surprise there. This Knicks bench is really concerning to me. And this is why, look, maybe they go home now, momentum's in their favor, and they beat Detroit in 5, and I'm wrong when I said I thought this was going to go over 5.5 games. But I think that this New York bench is the reason that they don't have a prayer in hell against Boston in the next round. Because you're consistently getting no scoring, no offensive output out of your bench. And how much longer can you ride these guys? Bridges, 44 minutes. Anunoby, 39. Towns, 40. Brunson, 39. Hart, 42. So every starter for the Knicks, when 39 minutes or more, And the only reserve who went double-digit on minutes, Deuce McBride gave him 19. 1 for 5 from the floor, 5 points. He's the only guy that scored off the bench. Their lack of bench scoring is a legitimate problem. And you get the Pistons outscoring them 22-5 off the bench, and that's why Detroit's in these games. The Knicks are superior talent-wise to the Pistons. There's no disputing that. Detroit's a lot deeper. You know, Detroit's got fresher legs. The only guy playing 40 minutes there is Cade Cunningham. They actually have a rotation. Tom Thibodeau is not allowing any room for a rotation on this Knicks team. You know, Cam Payne had his Game 1 heroics. The guy has been MIA side of a milk carton since Game 1. Mitchell Robinson, he's logging minutes. He's grabbing boards. I don't know if he's scored a point this entire series. It's like you're playing 4-on-5 with offense when he's out there. So the Knicks escape victorious. They're going to go home up 3-1. This is still not a team, even if they make quicker work of Detroit than I would have anticipated, and they win it in 5. This is still not a team, as much as I love them, that I can take seriously in the next round against Boston. How about a team everyone had high expectations for? I don't know if a single person I spoke to said Minnesota was going to win this series against the Lakers. Now, the T-Wolves, a game away, a win away from eliminating the LeBron James and Luka Doncic-led LA Lakers in the first round. How incredibly insane would that be? Look, these are two teams. Look at the regular season, right? I don't care. It's the 3 seed versus the 6 seed. You look at the Western Conference standings. You look at the records. They're a game apart in the standings, right? Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets, all 50-win teams. Minnesota, 49 wins. So that West was so bunched up and so insanely competitive this season that, you know, you look at the seeding and it's not properly indicative of how close these teams are. But at the end of the day, it was playoff LeBron and playoff Luka and the way that Luka has dominated Minnesota in years past in the postseason. And I was like, you know, the Lakers may have depth issues. They may have size issues. But how can they not get out of the first round, right? Well, you look at the depth. Naz Reid, DiVincenzo, Alexander Walker. None of those guys even had their best game, and they combined for 25 points off the bench in that one. What did the Lakers have? A Knicks-like bench performance. 6 points. And it was all Dorian Finney-Smith, who, by the way, played 41 minutes because Jackson Hayes only went 4, and the Lakers were really reduced to small ball with the Hayes injury. But Finney-Smith goes 41 minutes, had a good game, 6 points, 8 boards, 6 dimes, did everything else really darn well except score. But you look at LA, they had 4 guys log 41 minutes or more. That's worse than the Knicks in terms of depth, right? And the Knicks ended up emerging victorious. The Lakers didn't have the same luck. I mean, this is a Lakers team that was leading for a good chunk of the game. They had that big third quarter after kind of a back and forth first half. And then the fourth quarter, Minnesota just absolutely asserted themselves. And look, J.J. Redick, I think, has done a phenomenal job in year 1 at the helm for the Lakers. He's had to deal with a lot on the court, off the court. Guy lost his residence, the place he was staying at in those Palisades fires in January, right? The Lakers, there's been a lot going on this season. The Bronny attention, then the AD for Luka trade, the Mark Williams trade that wasn't, and now this team is left with the size issue to answer for in the second half. There's been a lot going on with the Lakers this year. A lot of moving pieces, tough for a first-year coach. I think J.J. Redick has handled it phenomenally for the most part. Here's the but. LeBron James, best player to ever lace him up, in my opinion. But you can't ask him on the wrong side of 40 years old to give you 46 minutes out of 48. You can't do that. And this is where the depth is biting them. Because your best player, and we can sit here and debate and quarrel over right now at this point in time who's better, Luka or LeBron, your leader, your GOAT, LeBron James, cannot be playing 46 minutes on the other side of 40 years old. It's an absurd ask. He didn't take a blow the entire second half. How are you going to get peak performance out of the guy if he doesn't get 2 minutes, if he doesn't get longer than a commercial break worth of rest in the entire second half? Well, the answer is you're not going to get peak performance out of him. Fourth quarter, he looked drained. He looked toast. And even you look at his scoring, he only put up 9 shots, right? He's got the 27 points on the stat sheet on the box score, but 15 of 18 at the line. He did most of his scoring at the line. 5 of 9 from the floor. Now, look, with LeBron, whenever he's out there, you're going to get max effort. And that's why he can't be playing 46 minutes. Because 46 minutes of max effort at damn near 46 years old, that's not a key to success. 12 boards, 8 assists. Guy really did everything. but he just ran out of gas. Luka, also 46 minutes. 5 of 12 from 3. Luka, I mean, you look at the shooting disparity. LeBron took 9 shots. Luka took 28. Led the team in scoring with 38. Hachimura, Reeves, they got in with 23 and 17, respectively. But after that, it was those 4 guys with 17 to 38 points. No intentional Fetty Wap reference there, if you get it. Those 4 guys had 17 plus. And then after that, Finney Smith had 6, Hayes had 2. That's it. Gabe Vincent, nothing. Vanderbilt and Goodwin, nothing. This team doesn't have size. This team doesn't have depth. That's why I struggled to see this team as, really being all that competitive with Oklahoma City. And look, I know that they had the loss in the buzzer beater. We can get into that buzzer beater shortly. I think the Clippers, despite being tied at 2, not being a short thing to get to the next round, I think of every team in the Western Conference, the Los Angeles Clippers are the best equipped to compete with Oklahoma City. And that's next round. The Thunder get the winner of the Clippers Nuggets in the next round. So, in other words, if OKC is in the conference finals, I think it's going to be an easier matchup for them than their matchup in the next round. The winner of that 4-5 series. Going to be easier for OKC, I think, than the Lakers, the Wolves, the Warriors, or the Houston Rockets. And that Warriors-Rockets game on Saturday was nuts. The Clippers-Nuggets game was nuts. I can't wait to preview those upcoming games in each respective series because the Western Conference is not disappointing, folks. And with the NBA playoffs here, I want to remind you all that so is the VSiN Killer Sports NBA Playoff Challenge. VSiN's invited 15 sharp minds from our world and the Killer Sports world to go head-to-head, making 38 picks each from the start of the playoffs all the way through the NBA Finals. That's a total of 570 NBA playoff picks, all available to VSiN Pro subscribers. Picks are locked in 1 hour before the first game each day, so you'll have fresh insights to guide your bets every step of the postseason. Plus, right now, you can get full VSiN Pro access through August 1st for just $59. Don't miss this playoff edge. Head to VSiN.com/subscribe to sign up today. What a deal that is. $59. Everything we do through August 1st. You don't want to miss out on that. Milwaukee trying to cut into this Indiana lead. They've made it a 10-point game. 3.5 to go in the third. Let's see if the Pacers can still do what I said and win this one by double digits. The live line, Indiana, -9.5. Going to talk some NFL rookies and NFL draft up next. Joe DeLeone from A to Z Sports joins us. It's Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues right here on VSiN with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Sunday night right on into your Monday morning. And with the conclusion of this weekend's NFL draft, who better to bring into the program to break it all down with than our friend, college football and draft analyst from A to Z Sports, half of the Ruffino and Joe show, Joe DeLeone, joining the show to break down the draft. And Joe, look, there's so many odds I want to get to. Rookie of the year, props for some of the big players at each position, even the number 1 overall pick in 2026, because people just, can't help themselves. There's no patience. They can't wait to actually watch these guys play next season. But before we do that, I do have to ask your opinion. I mean, nothing betting related necessarily, although, hey, I did have a little 12-1 long shot ticket on him to go 9th overall. Shedeur dropping to the 5th round, man. I mean, what's the rationale behind that, in your opinion?
By the way, I just have to point out, not that long ago, an hour ago, I taped a 2026 mock draft video. So, yes, I have already turned the page. To talk about what happened here, though, this circumstance with Shedeur Sanders, it's been wild to keep track of. I think that there is naturally a lot of wild speculation that's being thrown out there. I think from now until the start of the season, mostly over the next week, we're going to get a lot of different anonymous sources sharing how certain things went during the pre-draft meeting, how he came off. What the current rumors are is that he took a phone call during the meeting and didn't hang up the phone call. Another rumor that was around on Twitter was apparently he was listening to music during the interview. I have no idea if this was intentional. I have no idea if he thinks that he can get away with this stuff. Whatever it was, it pissed off enough teams that they didn't feel like they wanted to waste time with it. But I think it's a lot deeper than that. I think that a lot of these teams are generally more concerned with how Shedeur Sanders is going to handle the pressure of being his own man. Has anyone yelled at Shedeur Sanders since his time when he was in high school? Deion Sanders, that wasn't his dad. Deion Sanders was his coach in high school, at Jackson State, and at Colorado. I can't imagine that anyone on those coaching staffs has really yelled at Shedeur Sanders without his dad chiming in. And we see this all the time with media responses for things that happen on the field. Deion Sanders is the quote that we always hear. It's not Shedeur Sanders. So I think NFL teams are uncertain if he's going to be able to be the face of a franchise without his dad looming over his shoulder. But the other part about all of this is that the circus of attention that comes with it. I think a lot of teams did not want to draft him in the first or second or even third rounds, because if you drafted him early and he doesn't start, he doesn't play, he ends up getting cut in a couple of years, it is going to be the biggest negative headline for weeks on every single show, on this show, on Stephen A. Smith's show, on First Take, whatever. They're going to be talking about it. Nobody wants to deal with the negative publicity that would come with it if it didn't work out, because there's so much vitriol that is really thrown at people that speak negatively on Deion Sanders and Shedeur and the entire Colorado football program. So there's just so many elements here that caused this whole thing to collapse and to fall apart the way that it did.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a loaded situation. One thing I don't think anyone can dispute is his talent. And you can sit around and argue whether you think he's the second best quarterback or the third best quarterback or whatever. He's better than Dylan Gabriel. So for the Browns to go QB third round and go Gabriel only to come back and take Sanders, I kind of thought was a little nonsensical once we got to that point. But Joe, as we look at these offensive rookie of the year odds, Sanders, maybe the shortest shot that a fifth round pick has ever been. He's the eighth shot at 19-1. You've got Genty, the favorite, 2-1, then Cam Ward plus 230. This is interesting. Travis Hunter plus 750. I think that's kind of nuts because I foresee him, and I have no intel, but I would say 25 to 35% of their offensive snaps he'll be a part of. I think he's going to be predominantly a D-back. Anyone on this list? I mean, is it the obvious answer? Is it Genty up top? Is there anyone down the line that's got some value? Maybe, I don't know, a Tyler Warren at 30-1, although it's tough for tight ends. What are your thoughts, offensive rookie of the year?
Man, I'm kind of blown away. This is the first time I'm actually seeing the full board here. I'm Tyler Shuck at 12-1 is gross to look at. That is not going to happen.
Is that silly or what?
I don't even know if he plays. Like, what do we do? Well, this is, I think, a really good portrayal, Joe, of how this offensive class this year wasn't very good. There aren't a lot of good options. And I kept saying this every time I came on your show, is that there's not a lot of good offensive playmakers. It's going to be hard to come by. I really like Omarion Hampton at 12-1. And I look at all the guys that were on that graphic that was thrown up on the screen. They're all on teams that are still figuring themselves out for the most part. Omarion Hampton goes to the Chargers. He is the embodiment of Harbaugh ball. He is exactly what he looks for in running backs. And when he's got a guy that he can lean on and he can give the ball to for 20, 25 plus carries and then have Najee Harris to also pound the rock alongside him, I think that they're going to run it so aggressively at their opponents. Their passing game's pretty good. They didn't really truly bolster their receiving room this offseason. I think that they are trying to play true to what Harbaugh wants to do. I think Omarion Hampton, that's the best pick because he's in the best situation for a team that's competing for the playoffs, that thinks that they can maybe compete for the AFC Championship, and he is going to be integral for them having that success.
And their run blocking in LA is pretty damn strong. So Hampton going in there. I like that. 16-1, by the way, Hampton, rookie of the year. I think Shuck at 12-1 is an absolute joke. I mean,
stupid.
I don't get that pick. I'd rather run Spencer Rattler out there than Shuck. I mean, this kid, to me, he's like Brandon Weeden all over again. Have we not learned from DiCaprio? Stay away from the 26-year-old, right? I mean, what a joke. Defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah.
Abdul Carter on our Giants. Really short favorite, plus 250. Then there's $5 of separation. Hunter comes in plus 750. Then the board moves down a bit. I think Hunter at plus 750 would be worth a shot. And you can also, for Hunter to get 2+ interceptions, it's plus money. 2 interceptions plus money. What do you think? Where do you think Hunter fits in to this Jacksonville team? More as a D-back, more as a receiver? Thoughts on Defensive Rookie of the Year?
Yeah. So James Gladstone, the general manager, by the way, I implore anybody who didn't listen to his presser after drafting Travis Hunter, I want to run through a wall listening to just like the philosophical
you liked it? I thought it was really weird.
What do you mean? That was awesome. What do you think? Give it. Come on, this is football, Joe. He was talking about breaking boundaries, breaking barriers, doing something that has never been done before. It got a little
philosophical for me. It got a little talking in circles here.
This is football, Joe. This is football, man. This is intense. Yeah. This isn't all fun and games, but I love
They're a little weird in Jacksonville.
Okay, all right. My point is, though, is that there's an intent right now that they're going to let him do both things. So I actually wouldn't bet him to win offensive or defensive rookie of the year. I don't think that it doesn't mean that he can't win either award, but I think that because he's splitting time, his contributions aren't going to be that of a typical starting receiver and that of a typical starting defensive back. I love the 2+ interceptions bet that you just pointed out. I would absolutely take that. But I think that because he's splitting time at both things, he might end up having like an 800-yard receiving year and 3 interceptions, which if there was just an overall rookie of the year award, it would go to him, but it's going to go to somebody else who has better production. I'm keeping this one simple. I know that there's a lot of really good defensive players that we can turn to, but I'm going with the guy that is going to have an impact right now and the guy that I know is going to improve and get better every single week because he literally just did that this past year. I'm talking about Abdul Carter with our New York Giants. I think he steps right in that already it seems crowded, but loaded defensive line that got better by adding Darius Alexander as well in this draft class. He's going to be freed up. He's going to get a lot of one-on-one situations. This whole rookie year is going to be a feeling out period for the NFL, and a lot of offensive coordinators that are hubristic that think, oh, it's just a rookie. We can handle him one-on-one, and he's going to light things up. He's going to be a 12+ sack guy, and a 12+ sack guy like we just saw with Jared Verse is good enough to win Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Oh, wow. I mean, Carter's coming in at 8+ sacks, -110. If you want to go 10, it's 3-1, 11 sacks plus 550, 12 sacks is plus 1,000, 10-1.
I'm taking Carter. That.
Wow.
I'm taking that.
I love that, Joe. Hey, we've got a minute left. I want to get to 2 more things. Let's be quick. A little would you rather. Would you rather Ashton Genty 1,100+ yards, -110, or 7+ touchdowns, -135? 7+ touchdowns, because I think that he is going to be, as we've seen, type of guy gets enough carries, playing enough football games that he's going to have enough home run, long touchdowns that he's going to get over that 7 number. I think that's totally doable. I'm with you. I said it Thursday night on draft night. I said I like the touchdown prop better than the yards. 20 seconds. Number 1 pick. Would you rather Arch Manning 2-1 or Lenora Sellers 30-1? Which ticket would you rather have?
Lenora Sellers. I don't think Arch is going to declare. From everything that I've heard, he is not going to declare. He is going to stay at Texas for another season.
That would be why. I wonder what would happen to the ticket in that case. If it would be a loser or if it would be a push, if it would be void if Manning didn't declare for the draft. Joe, as always, great stuff. Follow him on Twitter at Joe DeLeone. Up next, more cashing out, more picks, more winners with me, Joe Ceraulo.
Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, here on VSiN. Our buddy Joe DeLeone from A to Z Sports, college football and NFL draft analyst, still with us over on the Progressive guest line. And Joe, we're talking 2026 number 1 pick because some people, I'm not going to, shoot any shots your direction, but some people have nothing better to do than get to the year early mock drafts. Dude, I think it's so ridiculous. It's so clickbaity.
It's fun. It's just for the hell of it. Don't hate.
It's so clickbaity. But there's a market for it, so you can bet it. You might as well make the content that goes along with it. We did a little would you rather, Arch, who's the clear favorite at 2-1, or Lenora Sellers. I picked Sellers because he's a kid that I loved watching down the stretch. As we got late in the season in college football and there was all that controversy over the final seed, Ole Miss, Alabama. I was like, right now, I think South Carolina would be a more entertaining watch than either of those two teams who, yes, they beat South Carolina, but they did so very early in the season. And I thought the Gamecocks were really zooming late in the year. I love this Sellers kid. Realistically, what do you think his draft position might be? And I know it's hard to predict this stuff a year out. And who do you realistically think the first pick will be?
Yeah, I think that Lenore Sellers is going to be a big riser this season. Just if you watch him, he has some of the most unreal, like we talk about like pocket presence. It's not even pocket presence with him. It's like pocket dominance. Guys try to tackle him and he just completely shrugs them off, just like shoves them away, just shoos them away. These big defensive linemen cannot bring him down. He's like Cam Newton in the pocket, the way that he's able to maintain his composure. And then to pick up big gains because he's such a tremendous athlete. So he's going to be a riser, but I don't know if he's going to take the stride enough as a passer to end up becoming a guy that is a first overall pick. I see him on like more of an Anthony Richardson type trajectory, a Josh Allen type trajectory that does some really good things. NFL teams fall in love. I also think the South Carolina team is going to be a little bit up and down. So this performance might not be as big of a jump as we're hoping for. I kind of understand the Drew Aller hype. Like big, strong kid coming back for one more year. He's got better receivers this upcoming season. He's made all these jumps on a year-by-year basis, but I'm still not all the way there. The pick that I'm going with, and for context, this time last year on your show, I believe it was the Sunday after the draft that came on before you had Cashing Out as your show on the network. I said
Cam
Ward.
We're doing live bet Saturday and Sunday.
To be the first overall pick and all the way back in last April, and it came to fruition. I think this year, Cade Klubnik is the bet that you want to place. Cade Klubnik, to me, checks all the boxes for what he needs to do to ascend to that point. Former number one overall recruit in his class, has the tools, strong enough arm, quick decision maker, plays really well within his offense, has an offense with really good receivers, and most importantly, this Clemson team is geared for a national championship run. If they go deep, he is going to be the talk of the town. He could be a Heisman Trophy winner, or at least in the conversation. And if all of that comes to fruition and he puts up similar stats to what he had last year, he had over 40 touchdowns last year, over 40. He was quietly in the conversation for a period of time. If he has some big games, I really do think that Cade Klubnik is going to be the first overall pick next season because he's just going to do everything right like he's done so far.
I think he has to have Clemson more competitive from start to finish. A lot of people were disillusioned by that week 1 loss against Georgia where the offense just got nothing going. To Clemson's credit in that game, the defense, the final score doesn't reflect this. The defense played really well. They were just on the field the entire game. So by like halfway through the third quarter, they got exhausted, and that's when Georgia pulled away. But Klubnik did nothing in that game against Georgia, and I think that kind of set the tone for the entire season, despite the fact Clemson, like the South Carolina team we were just talking about with Lenore Sellers, really finished on a high note. I'll tell you what, I wish there was like a yes-no market for the number 1 pick, because obviously, for the no, you'd have to lay a lot of money. I'd lay any number on Carson Beck to not be the number 1 pick. The fact that him and Lenore Sellers have the same odds, I would love like a head-to-head who will be drafted higher, Sellers or Beck. Or, will Beck be a first-round pick? Because I don't think he will. I want to fade this kid in every which way possible.
Well, here's another one. I saw somebody posted DraftKings odds. Miller Moss was on there. Miller Moss, a guy who's he's like barely 6 foot. He's got a below average arm. And he also got beat out last year. He transferred to Louisville. Maybe he goes sometime on day 2 because Jeff Brom has this touch with quarterbacks. He improves their production. They end up being better players. But that one makes no sense. Carson Beck, absolutely not. Carson Beck is going to play much better this year at Miami. I think a lot of people are going to talk themselves into this, just not purely from a betting standpoint, but I think people from a projection standpoint are going to say he could be a first-round pick. He's got the winning attitude. He was a big name and a big reason for Georgia's success, and he's going to Miami just like Cam Ward did. He's not Cam Ward. His arm is not as big as Cam Ward's. His pocket presence is not like Cam Ward's. He showed us who he really was this last year, at Georgia. I think he improves. He could go in the first round, but he's showing all signs of being Bo Callahan with all these weird things that you hear about him doing off the field. So yeah, I'm not bought in on Carson Beck at all.
Yeah, how bizarre was that video of the Cavender girls at that UFC event talking about him like not having any friends? I mean, that was wild. Also thought it was wild that they were talking, and we all know the last name of the young woman they were talking to. She's 17.
Yes.
Like, your college girl's talking to a 17-year-old girl about this. It's a weird freaking world. Speaking of a weird world, did you see the Bill Belichick CBS interview?
Yeah, I don't want to speculate how they met. I'm not going to say it, but I kind of have a hunch, and I think that you can assume what that hunch is.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. And look, hey, the V in VSiN stands for Vegas. I think that there's a lot of that going on in Vegas, how the two of them might have met. That was wild the way she interjected. Her being in the room for that interview was absolutely wild. And then interjecting.
Yes, credit to that producer, by the way. Whoever produced that did an amazing job, because you could feel the palpable uncomfortableness of the room that they kept just panning over to her, like peering over that desk. That is weird. That is so uncomfortable. Whatever dynamic they got going on, I might need to fade North Carolina this year. I don't know if I can buy into them with him being this distracted.
You know, I was going to jump on UNC. I think their win total opened at 6.5, and I was going to jump on the over. And now I'm seeing videos from practice that she's on the field at practice talking to Bill while he's running a practice. Like, go throw a party at Chi Sigma down the road. Like, get off the practice field.
We need Bill Belichick to break up with his girlfriend, okay, or she breaks up with him, and we need revenge Bill Belichick, pissed off revenge Bill Belichick, to go on a run and to get them to 10 wins, just to completely dig in and turn around that North Carolina foot. That's when I'll bet the over. Now, I'm not touching that though right now.
Yeah, single Belichick, give me the over. He's going to be hungry again. He's going to have that ambition and that drive back. I mean, watching that interview, I wanted to be like, Bill, blink twice if you need help. I mean, absolutely. He looked so uncomfortable. Like you said, the discomfort was palpable. I mean, it was absolutely wild. And now, that over-under has gone up from 6.5 to, I believe, 7.5. And now I'm thinking maybe the under might be the play. Joe, I want to ask you about this because this shocked everyone. Going back to the draft, Colston Loveland getting taken over Tyler Warren. We don't have any Warren receiving props, surprisingly, on DraftKings, and a lot of that might have to do with the quarterback situation in Indy. But we have Loveland props. 700 plus yards, minus 135. 800 plus yards, plus $1.25. Final 75 seconds here. What are your thoughts on Loveland? And is this a guy that you would bet going into this season, or is he a little too unknown for you?
No, I would bet on him to have great production. I would take the over on a number of those bets that you just brought up there. I like the thought of him going over 800 receiving yards. Anything more than that might be getting a little bit greedy, but he went before Tyler Warren because Tyler Warren would not have made sense with Cole Kmet already on the roster. They're trying to build a 2 tight end personnel offense where they're going to run the ball. They're going to build the passing game off of it. You needed to find a vertically oriented player that is going to line up more in the slot. Cole Kmet will be the inline tight end. You can use him basically just as a big slot player. He's going to run up the seam and get open over the middle. He's going to run deep route concepts, crossing over the middle of the field. He has the potential to be one of the biggest weapons. I originally hated this pick when it came in on draft night. The more that I've thought about it, the more that I've come around to it, because I think that Ben Johnson is creating a very unique offense. He just needs to eventually figure out who the true running back is going to be. And Kyle Monangai, who they drafted, could end up having a huge role. But overall, I really like Colston Loveland to have a huge, huge season in 2025.
Interesting take. So not necessarily that he's the better tight end, but that he's the better schematic fit for what Ben Johnson and them are doing in Chicago. Joe, as always, fantastic stuff, man. Really appreciate the time.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Joe.
Make sure Twitter at Joe DeLeone. Check out the Ruffino and Joe show and his great work at A to Z Sports. More Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo up next.